We have the keynote speaker, who is none other than Honorable Mr. Vikram Viswanath, Honorary Consul of Peru. As the founder and chairman of Anuradha Holdings Private Limited, he has built a diversified enterprise spanning infrastructure, healthcare, technology, real estate, and hospitality. The topic for today's session is called Family Office, Inheritance and Parenting. Also with him, we have the moderator, Mr. Kailashnath M S, from the head of seats from Chirate Ventures. So let's give it up to both of them and let's welcome them to join us on stage. All of you guys to clap as loudly as possible, and let's welcome Mr. Kailashnath M S and Mr. Vikram Viswanath. A very, very warm welcome to both of you, and over to the moderator.
So, good evening. Thanks so much for taking the time towards the end of the week to come and listen to a conversation. But really, thank you so much to Madhu and her team for putting this wonderful event together. But more than anything, thank you, sir. Thank you for coming and taking your time for this conversation as well. Really a pleasure to have you here. Maybe we'll start our conversation around the entire piece around family inheritance and succession, right? I'm taking this point from Mr. Prakash's presentation as well on how important succession planning in family and family-run businesses are. Maybe we'll start with a brief about your journey, right? And your family has been in the business for a good 70-75 years now. Maybe if you could take us through how Anuradha Holdings as an entity, which has spanned multiple industries also, now starting from logistics to hospitality, healthcare, etc., how the journey has evolved and how have you seen the industry evolve and hence the leadership in this industry evolve as well?
To honestly tell you, as far as the 75 years, what granddad and dad did, they knew better. And it was more reaction to what the industry offered rather than what they wanted to do. I think there takes a change in our generation where we are one of the few generations who thought that yes, it's okay to dream, but also know the limitations in it because we are married. So you kind of balance yourself out. So one of the things which I thought about, which I got actually from an Ayurvedic doctor. You know, in India, if you want to take a quick minute and I'll tell you, Ayurveda is basically, it looks at body as an endocrine system of three types, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. It interacts with three types of food, Rajas, Tamas and Sattvic, to give you three types of brainwaves, Alpha, Beta and Gamma. So what you can see the smile coming out there. I kind of looked at this, and the guy who's done his master's in the US and studied in the US said, how does this work with us? And I said, being a Tambram, I said, let's try to see whether you can do a balance between Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. That's your knowledge, your power, and your money. Any one less or any one more is a problem. So I feel it's important to be happy, and I feel it's important to do success in yoga, and it's important to look at all the other soft skills too. But it's very important to ring fence also. And money is also, you cannot ignore money, but you cannot ignore your happiness either. So I think it's a balance of the three. And one thing which I have seen which helps is good begets good. Might not be immediate, but kind of stay. Two things which I tell the kids is, one, don't do anything which is against the law, and within that, stick to your conscience. And that kind of keeps you out of trouble. When it comes to wealth management or when it comes to succession, I think for anything you need good communication and a balance along these three. And my journey was basically, we did a company, we had logistics, we were large in logistics. We were pretty significantly large in this city and the southern part of India. But that does not change your lifestyle. The lifestyle, I think if you have 60 crores or 50 crores, up to 500, 600 crores, your life doesn't change. So it's just a number which increases at some point of time, but your life at home really does not change. And then again from 600 to 6,000, again, there's no change, and after that it's difficult to have a life. your children, your security, it's not a very smart thing to kind of extend one more than the other. That's my feeling, and that's why when I got my own holding company, I quit. Told the PEs are on a fast track. I didn't want to. I'm more conservative, so kind of went into a holding company, quit that, and said this is more than enough to kind of get off the gravy train, as you would say, and kind of concentrate on parenting. And spent a lot of time, and I was also very grateful because my mother was not well, and because I had kind of switched out, I was able to spend the time with my mother what I needed to. So there were some very good personal satisfaction you get, and with my son and my daughter 14 days a month for a couple of years together when they were abroad. So my daughter came at 15 and said, you know, I believe in woman empowerment, so do you? And it starts by saying, can you send me to high school in London? So it's like, okay. I said, if you get mom's permission, you can. And she said, if I could do that, I wouldn't come to you. So, you know, you kind of, but you realize the importance of education. You realize the importance of them going out, being somebody. And when they are, to come back to a family-run business is very difficult. It's not a corporate. So, and if you keep expanding, the problem is you never have time for them. You never have time to smell the roses. So, you know, I kind of think money is important, but it's not everything. But it is very important too. It's a cog that has to be ring-fenced. That's my view.
Yeah, no, very interesting, sir. I think maybe I'll take this into, I'll take this to a next level where you're saying, and you brought in education as a very, very important point. And you also talked about how inheritance is becoming, I mean, it's a thought to go deeper into as well, right? And I was reading this one very interesting report from McKinsey which said close to 2/3 of Indian GDP is actually coming from family-run businesses. And the report also talked about how family-run businesses bounce back quickly from an economic setback, generally the market setback, much quicker than let's say non-family-run business. And it's becoming a very important part of the Indian economy as we grow as well, right? And that's branching out into multiple, let's say, strategic decisions also. It's very key to our economic growth. But as we talk about the longevity of some of these businesses, right? And you talked about how kids have a different mentality itself. Maybe it's also coming from an institutionalized B-school kind of outlook, and that is changing the mental models which come into the boardroom as well. So how do you see that? Two parts to my question. One, how do you see that decision making changing and passing the baton over, that process changing? And where do you see challenges which maybe need to be planned ahead of time so that the family business owners, when they think of making the generational practice of, let's say, even conglomerate-based businesses, what should they sort of keep in mind as they think about longevity of their businesses?
Well, in any industry, including ours, traditionally was only in logistics. There's a saying, right? If at the bend in the road, if you don't take the turn, it is the end of the road. So the life cycle of the industry and the changes which are required and the competition due to other things, whether it could be government, it could be anything else, technological, happening. If you can't change at that point of time, it's very difficult. And if your children are coming in, you can't make someone who is interested in research into a good CEO here. I think it's wrong to the employees, it's wrong to the children, it's wrong to yourself. So I think parenting, you have to take a step back. And my honest view, I feel, is traditionally we don't look at wealth as money. Ashtalakshmi is not money. Aishwaryam is not money. It's a part of it. It's definitely an integral part of it. But there's a lot to do with values. There's a lot to do with their skill set, their character, their culture, what they want to do, what they want to grow in life. So so you're fighting already in any family-run business. Every day is a fight because you're always expanding more than you're supposed to. Your current ratio is never going to be 7, 8. you're at that 2.5, 3 max current ratio. Your DSCR is going to be high. So you're always going to be trying to grow in a family-run business. And children coming in is actually a disruptor, unless it's very difficult to get them in, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort on the promoter. Normally the father gets, because you get it here and you get it back when you go back home, because he's got a completely, the child, whoever's coming in, has got a completely different view of what the world is, and their ability to take risk is higher, and because they have been brought up better, right? Whereas our ability to take risk is a lot lesser, and it's always, as I said, crypto, the first generation will find it very difficult. The second generation might be okay with it, but the first generation will find it difficult. And we will think about it a little more. We will be a little more risk averse, because we've struggled very hard for it. So I think disruptors should be balanced with what the children's interests are.
Interesting. Does it also mean that as a family or business owner, let's say as a chairperson, you take up multiple roles as well. First building your team under, which is reporting into you, versus let's say transitioning out into let's say a non-executive role itself. Is there a thought process that with the current generation of family business owners, when they think of longevity, is there a role of mentorship should they take after or consider taking up, or is there merit in bringing in a more professional leadership before a transition can happen? What have your observations been? What are the best practices, etc.?
I think professionalism is a very widely used word. So I think everybody will be professional if the company is performing. But to come back to your question, I think each promoter has 3 hats. One, the hat that he has as a promoter, where he is responsible to the owners of the company, whether he has partners or his family. 2, because you're chairman and managing director, you're responsible to the team and the employees. And 3rd is you yourself, on what you want and what your likes and dislikes are. So again, and sometimes these 3 can be completely at odds with each other. Sometimes as a chairman, what you want to do is completely different from what you want to do as the managing director. And you have to sit at 4 o'clock in the morning and spend those quiet moments with yourself to kind of see how to sort this disruption across, because one decision here is going to hurt the other decision there, and you're in charge of both, and how do you balance? And sometimes it's very difficult to balance that. So it's quite time to do that, and I think the success comes in differentiating what you want, what the managing director should want, and what the chairman should want. And I think those are 3 different roles in our family business.
Makes sense. No, I think it's multiple hats. It's like like a cricket team, right? You are a batsman yourself, plus you're a captain too, or maybe like MS Dhoni said, you're a wicketkeeper yourself, a performer yourself, and you're also managing the entire team too. No, that's very valid, very pertinent point. So, what would be maybe your couple of advice to the maybe current set of family business owners who are thinking of a tenured journey for their business itself? Pitfalls that they should keep in mind, or best practices, even like you rightly said, multiple roles of being a father of the family or mother of the family versus also being a managing director who takes care of the team itself. What should be the thought process in making sure that the longevity is optimized for business?
Actually, to answer that question, the person sitting right there, because unless at some time in industry, if the promoter does not go into wealth management, he will lose, because the industry per se is changing, and the competition is increasing, economies of scale are increasing. So as a promoter, Indian promoter, you're going from an SME to an MSME, and then at an MSME stage, you're thinking, okay, the debt part is there. Should I look at the equities? Should I look at the P's? P's have their own game in mind. They are what they want to do, and that has nothing to do with you. And you're just a tool in their balance sheets to play around with on DCF and valuations. But at some time you got to switch as a promoter, ring fence and talk to a wealth manager. I think that's a very, very important part for almost every SME and MSME. If you are very wealthy, it doesn't matter anymore, right? But if you come down to the guys who are really working at it, they don't save everything. The reason why they, react much quicker to everybody else is because they put their heart and soul, as well as everything they've saved, everything their mother has saved, everyone has saved, it comes back into the business. That's the reason why they bounce back compared to professional shops. So I honestly feel that's something that we have started the journey. There are wealth managers in this country, but they feel it's only for the very wealthy. I wish there is a wealth management kind of thing which comes out for SMEs and MSMEs, because they are the friends and they are the most vulnerable in the whole lot.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that is to be learned for that set of business as well. Maybe we spoke about the chairman, we spoke about the managing director. Let me talk about the person behind as well. So I have some fun set of rapid fire questions for you, just to know, just for the room here to know better, right? So just what comes to your mind, maybe shoot it from your heart. Your favorite sports and sports person?
Well, golf. I think that's been my favorite right through. And I think that's one of the things where you can't blame anybody else. It's only you who you got to blame.
Yeah.
And when you play. So yes.
Yeah. Favorite vacation place?
My farm.
Oh, very nice. Favorite brand?
I love Mercs.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
I've always been with them, so I kind of like cars. I think cars and bikes are the first love a man gets through. Girls come later on in life.
Yeah.
So
I have a Royal Enfield Thunderbird. I can completely agree with you. Bikes are first love. Yeah. Favorite piece of gadget you own?
definitely not the phone.
Yeah.
In fact, I think this is something that we need the tea talks on maximum. But I think if it's favorite and it's late night snack, it's the microwave. Because that's where you can't ask anybody else and you got to go and you need something to snack on and read up. And I think that's probably what it is.
Spoke like a gentleman. Way to your heart is through your stomach. Yeah. Favorite book?
I really took a lot of help. I forget the name, the Israeli banker on how to handle money. I forget. Do you know the name of the book? I'm talking some 15 years ago. Pardon me?
Richest Man in Babylon.
The Israeli guy, who wrote that. It's a very famous book. You know, you just kind of manage your assets, your liabilities, and your work in process. And gave me a completely new view on how to manage. And what I did was come to the office in the morning and we removed everything out and we got some 5 boards on this side, 5 boards on this side, and every expense that took place in trucking. And it was very difficult because, for example, tires or your repair and maintenance, we had NSD taken for every single tire. It's called net secure death at midnight. So we put that money, what was spent on that tire, into a separate account, the R&M into a separate account. So we had separate working capital accounts on that. And so you never have a spike. You always have something that comes in. So all your income and all your expense was there for everybody to see. So if a driver or anyone could come in and say that, hey, we are contributing more, we need more money, it was absolutely not a problem. The company ran completely transparent. So that was the book. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name.
No, we'll look it up. Sure. Yeah. Apart from traffic, what would you want to improve about Bangalore?
The air quality. I really feel that, from the way birds are treated to the way we have with trees. There's another colleague of mine called Mr. Vaswani, who is now the Honorary Consul for Luxembourg. And I think among all the 10 odd years we have had different functions in the diplomats, one of the best things he did was to organize tree planting in Cubbon Park. It takes a long time to grow a tree. It's very easy to cut one. We need something on climate management. As a kid who grew up in Bangalore, definitely miss what it used to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. I grew up in Bangalore as well, and seen the city go from bad to worse. Yeah, it's completely agree with that. One advice to your 30-year-old self.
Pardon me?
One advice that you would give to your 30-year-old self.
I would have planned to retire earlier.
Okay. That's a very interesting one. There's a lot of people in our generation looking to work longer lives. It is an interesting one.
Time is also wealth.
Yeah, of course.
When you have time for yourself, it's also an asset.
Yeah. Concept of Ashtalakshmi. Wonderful, sir. Now, good. It was wonderful speaking to you. I'll just open it up for questions from the audience, and yeah.
So, Vikram, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You talked about private equity guys and also how has been the experience with them? I mean, you were sharing with me. I just want to know, a little more curious to know how's been the experience with them.
Objectives are different, right? For example, even every company, if it's run by an Indian promoter, the value systems kind of percolate and it becomes the character of that company.
Right.
Whereas when you're with a fund, it's just numbers and it's a disposable number. You know, 2 weeks ago, I quit from this company in 2011, but I attended a person's son's second wedding 2 weeks ago. I helped someone with the cancer treatment 6 months ago. And these are people who worked for us 15 years ago. I don't have any connection with the company, but they don't care. They say, you were the guy whom I woke up one day and decided to work for, and I worked, and you changed, but you still are responsible. So promoters have a much higher responsibility to their staff compared to what a fund will have.
Do you think it's changed now because your experience is about good a decade and a half back, but now I think the maturity has come and a lot more things have changed, right? So do you think there has been a change in terms of their outlook towards the promoter and the way they...
I actually feel our bankers have to change more than private equities from abroad. I honestly feel we have enough of a secondary market ourselves, and we got to look at equity with more maybe safeguards, and we have to look at a longer term, especially when it comes into the service sector and in the infra sector, because your gestation period is longer. So our banks have got one kind of a product for all, whether it is, and so it's more what Mr. Rajiv Gowda can say for what the people up there are doing with the legislation, because that's a more important issue than what we could do. And unless the banking laws change, unless the secondary market is more open, unless you have more financial instruments, today you cannot have insurance for your business. I had, for example, a flood and hardly got any money from insurance. So there are several cup and sip difference. I mean, there is a insurance company from the government, I don't want to name, but literally gave me 1/20th of the money, right? And it's a flood which came in. It was a flood which ruined the place. And my first insurance policy starts with protection from river, protection from flood. So where does it go? So I think those are the type of things that will have to happen. Hope it answered it.
Hi sir, I'm Naveen from IFL. What you said is absolutely true, and the good part is you spoke from your heart on the wealth management and everything. So I just want to know, like you said golf is a game. Golf is a sport where you can't blame anybody. So same way, some investors also like to do their wealth management at their own. So there they, at least have some people say that the wealth manager have to blame to take care of their wealth and all. So what do you think, like if an investor can manage themselves or, versus through wealth managers? What is your view on those set of, segments?
I honestly feel wealth management is the way to go about it, only because you have so much changing from a point of view of political, social, technological. All these changes are taking part, laws are changing. Structuring is so important today compared to what it was before. Law, we never, there's a saying in Kannada, when you go to court, we say, get down sota, soton satta. That means the winner loses and the loser dies.
Yeah.
Okay, nobody wins. So, it's so important to protect yourself legally today. Whereas 30 years ago, that wasn't an issue. Contractual law is very different today from what contractual law was 30 years ago. Contractual law 30 years ago was you wrote a sheet and you kept that down. If you had a problem, you called and had copy and you sorted it out. It doesn't work that way anymore. So honestly, for MSMEs, there's a huge dearth or demand for wealth management, but I think it should be called something else only because today people feel wealth management is when you have too much of money and then you go to someone. It's not how to plan to save and how to plan to exit. I think there's a difference between that and what wealth management is perceived in the country today among promoters.
Let's have the biggest round of applause. So please stay back. We have a token of appreciation from Brand Talk to give away. Let's welcome Mr. Gappan Annamalai, Director, MAL Group, a family business portfolio, and also Ritu Sharma, Executive Director, TIE Bangalore, to please join us on stage to hand over the token of appreciation from the Brand Talk family. Well, let's have the biggest round of applause. Well, quite an insightful session it has been indeed. Let's give it up to Mr. Vikram Viswanath, Honorary Consulate of Peru, and also our moderator, Mr. Kailashnath M S, the head of seats from Chirate Ventures. Let's have both of them to kindly walk up and accept this token of appreciation from the Brand Talk family. We'll have a group picture indeed so that we can capture this lovely moment. Let's have the biggest round of applause if everybody's had a wonderful session. Make some noise. So I request all of you guys to kindly stand at the equator of stage so that we get the picture perfect moment. Ma'am, all the four of you, please walk up there at the front. So if you guys can just walk up here. Everybody here, yes. We want every moment to be as perfect. Let's have the biggest round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, let's make some noise.
Roku means 6. A gin distilled with 6 unique Japanese botanicals harvested at their peak. Distilled to embody the blessings of nature. Roku Gin, alive with the best of every season.